and welcome to another episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate the science. And boy, we're still trying for comedy podcast where we take questions from listeners or each other or guest hosts, and we do our best to apply our science researching skills and abilities to type things into Google to actually find the most accurate answer possible. I am one half of your normal two-headed monster hosting duo. I'm Julian Huguet. The other head, he's in the middle of finishing his move. I know I told you listeners that he was moving before and then he was back for a bit. He hadn't completed it. It's complicated, the logistics. I won't get into it. But filling in one more time for somebody in his stead, we have another extra special guest host. She has a PhD in genetics. She's host of the American Chemical Society's Reactions, or co-host, I should say. There's another. And of course, a friend of the pod, friend of Kyle, our editor and producer, and us as well. It's Alex Dainis. Dr. Dainis, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I have been a listener for a long time, or a long-time listener.
Stop it. Really?
No, truly. Yeah, when you guys started this podcast, I learned about what spaghettification is from you all. You know, I've learned so many things, so I'm excited to join.
I'm shocked that we have anything to teach you, frankly, based on your body of work. Well, welcome.
I will say, as soon as you launched into, I'm going to do math in that episode, I was like,
oh no,
like, I don't know if I can do it. But then I learned that I could be spaghettified, and so
it's all worth
it.
The moral is, if it ends with spaghetti, I'm in. Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, it's going to be okay. Wonderful. Well, welcome. So that's great. You know how the show works and how we operate. You've got your questions selected. Normally when we have guests, we take questions from guests, but since you're kind of standing in as the second host, I'm going to take a listener question this week. And frankly, I kind of regret taking this one because
oh no,
sometimes I think things, I read them, I'm like, this is going to be easy, you know? And then I end up doing a bunch of math or something. This one was more like pedantic hell and geology hell and fires of hell.
Oh. I mean, all those things go together. So
it's a big swirling, cascading circles of hell that I was in for this one. But I should actually say what this question is. So this comes from Marlene. And Marlene asks, is lava wet?
I love this question. Because my brain goes, yes, no, maybe.
Yeah, but you go through all the phases, right?
Yes.
In turn. You're like, of course it is. No. Well,
no.
Actually, it's the kombucha girl meme in a question.
Yes, 100%.
No. Well, Marlene expands on this. Marlene says, lava is a liquid, but you wouldn't intuitively consider it wet/moist. It will burn the things it's touching, and yet, from my research, all liquids are considered to be wet. First, I love when they have their own research included, which happens a lot on this show. Listeners kind of start digging into things themselves before handing it off to us. And sometimes it's really helpful, to be honest. But I delight in that they're curious enough to look into it.
Yes.
But I had to agree with a lot of Marlene's sentiment here. You know, it's exactly that.
I do too.
It's a liquid, right?
It's liquid.
Therefore wet, right?
Well, but that makes me wonder, and I'm sure you went down this path, what is wet?
Yeah.
What is wet?
Yeah, sure did.
Is wet only because water? Or is wet because moving molecule? Like, what is wet?
I'm sad already.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
First of all, I will say that this question, Marlene is not the only person to have thought of this. It's a fairly common internet thing that bubbles up that I've found. In fact, to the point that another science-oriented show, The Naked Scientist, had this as their question of the week 3 years ago. And Sally LePage, who I don't know if you know her.
I love
great.
Sally.
I know, right?
Oh, what a crossover episode.
I know! But Sally LePage spoke with a geologist, Brooke Johnson, from the University of Oxford. And this is Johnson's take. He says that, okay, we're going to start with a dictionary definition of wet, and he says that is covered or saturated with liquid. So immediately he's already discounting the, just liquid in and of itself.
Yes.
And then he says, lava is not actually a liquid.
What?
That's what he says. He says lava is molten rock. It's more like a very gooey solid like toffee, quote unquote. Now, I see the look on your face.
Yes, this is an audio medium, and I should tell you that I am looking very confused and distraught.
Yes, slightly quizzical and skeptical. Now, far be it from me to disagree with an Oxford geologist, but I'm going to disagree with an Oxford geologist here.
I love it.
Okay?
I love it.
Okay? Because clearly, we're starting with a dictionary definition. That's his starting point, I guess we have to start with that. And I think an important caveat always when we're getting into these things of is this thing in a certain category, is the inherent limitations of language.
Yes.
Right? And how imperfect it is at describing the world around us.
Yes.
It's always improving. It's, one might say, kind of changing its shape to fit the container that it's in. Sorry, this is liquid puns.
I see where you're going.
But it's not perfect, right? And the word wet, I think, is such a terrible word to wrap your head around. Just the word wet, right? Because people argue, is water wet? And then we go to the dictionary and we say, well, it's got to be covered in liquid or something. And it's well, water is the liquids. But that's just pedantry, right? That's just arguing semantics of a definition that, frankly, we made up.
It does feel like if we're going to decide whether or not lava is wet, we do have to figure out first whether or not water is wet.
Oh, please don't make me go there.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Because that's the thing. If you told me that water wasn't wet, then I would say, of course, lava wasn't wet, because lava is covered in the thing that we think is making other things wet.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. I think we can all agree that if something has water on it or saturated through it, it is wet.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So therefore, you might not say water is wet, but you might still say lava is wet.
Oh.
And I will get to that. But I'm going to backtrack here, and I'm going to disagree with the premise of Johnson's definition of wet, because I went to Merriam-Webster's, which is the preferred dictionary of the Associated Press, and typed in the word wet. And it's defined as an adjective as consisting of, containing, covered with, or soaked with liquid, such as water. So that consisting of part would mean that water is wet.
Yes. Great. Love it. Love it.
And again, it's just a definition of a word. It's so arbitrary, and it can change, things change. We all just decided on it and agreed with it, and we're doing our best, dang it. So yes, let's set that aside now and say, according to the dictionary, water is in and of itself wet.
Great.
And capable of making other things wet, even if they're solid and covered in water.
I'm in.
Okay. I'm also going to disagree, though, with his statement that lava is not a liquid.
Yeah. Yes. I am so excited for you to disagree with that.
Because I went to said dictionary again.
Amazing.
For the word molten.
Yep.
And it says liquefied by heat.
Yes. Yes, it's a liquid. It's a liquid.
So molten rock is liquid. By definition.
Yes.
Okay.
I think
so.
I love that you found a scientist who had answered this and immediately disproved both of his things. Sorry, science.
I'm just gonna say, I reached out to geologists, by the way. I sent some emails. I did not hear back. I was so disappointed. But
so
I
sad.
know. But again, I'm going to preface this whole thing in that it's just so arbitrary and kind of doesn't matter. But if we want to find an answer, we're going to try and get to one, okay? So I think another mistake that we're making as a whole here is we're considering lava as one monolithic thing.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more.
When it's not, right? There are many different types of lava. There's many different ways that you can get lava and many ways for it to reach the surface. And I think that's also important to go into. So there are three basic types of magma, right? Which is, lava that hasn't reached the surface yet. Basaltic, andesitic, and rhyolitic. And the main thing that unites all of them is they have a significant percentage of silicon dioxide, right?
Okay.
So SiO2. So basaltic magma, that is high in iron, magnesium, calcium. It's low in potassium and sodium. It's also the hottest. It ranges from about 1,000 degrees Celsius to 1,200 Celsius.
Wow.
Andesitic has more kind of even amounts of all these minerals. It's temperatures in the mid-range from 800 C to 1000 C. Rhyolitic, it's high in potassium and sodium, low in iron, magnesium, and calcium. And it's the coolest of these three, 650 C to 800 C. But they're all, like I said, mainly composed of silica. And the temperature they have and the silica concentration that they have really affects how well these things flow. So more silica means more viscous. It doesn't flow as easily. And higher temperature, less viscous, flows more easily. So these types of magma, right, they reach the surface, and they can reach the surface in multiple different ways, too. The main three ways that you see this happening, it can happen at tectonic plate boundaries that are diverging, so they're moving apart. And this happens like on the seafloor in the mid-Atlantic. There's a ridge that's spreading apart, and magma's, the pressure's lightening up, so the mantle underneath, when the pressure drops, can turn into this liquid magma, and it can come up to the surface, and then, it hits water. And there already, I think, we're hitting our definition of wet.
Ooh.
Under the ocean, right? When it reaches the water and is covered in water,
yes,
it is now wet.
It is absolutely wet. 100%, yes.
So if we want to be technically correct,
yes,
the best kind of correct, right? This lava that's emerging from the spreading seafloor, that's wet. Okay, that feels like cheating.
Oh, I don't think it's cheating. It also just like scratches like a middle school itch in my brain that I feel like lava and tectonic plates were like a thing that was just like drilled into us over and over. And I desperately, as a middle schooler, wanted to go to the bottom of the ocean and see like the mid-Atlantic ridge and see it like coming up and spreading. And like, I'm sure it's not actually a one location thing that you can go and look at, but like middle school me was like, I want to go see it. And so I do like that at least it's getting its moment to shine as being the most certainly wet lava in the world.
Yes, the most categorically, undeniably covered in liquid and therefore wet. Also, you should get in touch with James Cameron. I don't know if he's doing anything with that submarine.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not busy at all. He'll take my call for sure.
Well, I'm just saying he's probably not using it, right? He went to the bottom of the Marianas, and now what? Is it sitting like on his front lawn on cinder blocks? Like what's he doing with that thing?
That's a great point. Like, where do you have like a special underwater garage for your submarine? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. Just saying, if you still want to check it out. Okay. Now, another way that magma can reach the surface and form volcanoes is at another tectonic plate boundary, but instead of a divergent one, it's a convergent boundary, right? So this happens when you get oceanic crust that meets either other oceanic crust or continental crust, and the oceanic crust sinks below the other plate, regardless of what it is. Now, here's what's really fascinating about this, and something I thought of immediately when this question was asked, because I learned this on a previous episode of That's Absurd, Please Elaborate. And that is, as the plate is subducting, some of the minerals that are going down with it, they have water as part of their mineral structure. And as these minerals melt and release this water, the water in these high temperatures becomes water vapor, and it actually turns the mantle to liquid magma. And that causes it to rise up to the surface and push its way through cracks. So that magma in a converging boundary has H2O in it.
That seems wet to me.
But
is it a vapor?
It's not in its liquid form.
Oh, interesting.
Right. It's not even vapor. It's broken down into its constituent OH and H.
Yeah.
It's like separated.
Oh, gosh.
So now the question is, water is wet. It's the liquid form of H2O. Is H2O always wet?
I want to say no. I want to say no, because my brain was like, well, yeah, of course, because if you like get steam on something, that thing is wet, but that's wet because it condensed again. It's not
right.
Like
the water vapor condensed on the surface, right? Or like I play ice hockey, right? And I flop around on ice and then it melts and is wet, but the ice itself not wet.
Not wet.
Not technically. Just because it's water. It's got to be that liquid water. So hilariously, this magma at these convergent boundaries has water in it. It doesn't make it wet.
Wow. I went full circle on that one. And
I know.
It's making me question. But here's the thing, like, is that water as it is in its vaporous form? Like, it must be kind of condensing and then reheat. I don't know. It must be so hot. It's probably just so hot that it's just vapor the whole time.
It's so hot. And then when it reaches the surface at volcanoes like this, it tends to be explosive eruptions because basically another geologist compared it to like a soda can, right? Where you've got like dissolved carbon dioxide. You've got this gas in there. And as soon as it gets to a point where it can escape, if a lot of it can escape very quickly, you get these explosive eruptions at the surface. But even then, when the lava flows, there's still water vapor in it boiling out. You might still say that, yeah, there's water present, but that is not what makes it wet.
No.
Now, if you still go by the definition that just being liquid makes something wet, then yes, it's wet in that sense, not because it has H2O in it. It's so confusing, I know. And I'm sorry, I wish I could be doing math for you instead.
I still feel like, though, both of these types, based on our definitions, are wet. I think we can firmly say they're both wet.
I would agree with that.
But I feel like the type that feels like the spirit of this question is the lava that is flowing down the side of a volcano. Where does that fall?
Yes.
Is that second kind?
No, that would more likely be a third kind, and this doesn't have to do with tectonic plates either converging or diverging. These are hot spots that form. For whatever reason, you've just got some really hot mantle that's hot enough to turn into magma and then force its way up. This is how you get island chains like the Hawaiian Islands. And if you see the lava that flows down the side of Kilauea in Hawaii, it doesn't explode like other volcanoes that have that water vapor in it because it doesn't have that water vapor dissolved in it. But it flows down the side, and it's not that viscous compared to most other lavas, right? It's about 50% silica. So it flows fairly well. And if you watch a video, I would say, like, that is definitely a liquid.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, so funny enough, you have that kind of paradox where, like, the more viscous ones are the ones that tend to explode and bubble and look like a witch's cauldron when they're coming to the surface, but not like the ones at Hawaii. In my research, I did find one very special, unique, weird volcano.
Oh.
I said that most magma and therefore lava has primary constituent is that silicon dioxide.
Yes.
There is one volcano in the world that is different.
I'm so excited. I'm going to learn a new thing here.
Yes. It's in Tanzania.
Okay.
It's called Oldonyo Lengai. And instead of having lava that's primarily silica, its main components are sodium and calcium carbonate. So it's carbonatite lava is what they call it. And instead of coming out during the daytime, instead of looking like red, flowing, oozing molten rock, it looks black.
Oh.
Until it solidifies in just a few days, and then it turns to like a silvery white color.
Whoa.
But here's the really bonkers thing about this lava is if I were to show it to you, you would just think it was like a black fountain in a plaza or something. It seriously looks just like water. As a matter of fact, I have a YouTube video from New Scientist, and if you just watch the first 10 seconds of it, you can see that, yeah, it does look like water. So check that out.
All right.
Describe to me how liquid you think that is.
Okay. Whoa. Oh my gosh. It is, so much more flowing than I thought it was going to be. It's fast. It looks like as if you mixed charcoal into water. It looks like the viscosity of water just pouring out of this volcano. It is
It's
weird.
like a mudslide or something, you know? It's so liquidy.
But it's hot.
It's 500 degrees Celsius.
Oh, no. That's dangerous because looking at it, it just looks like dark water. I hope I would realize before I got up to it, but I would easily be like, oh, yeah, that looks like a cool thing to go play in. Yeah. Like, wow.
I'm sure you'd feel it.
Yeah,
you'd be like, oh, boy, it's real hot.
Yeah.
And around this mud puddle that I'm walking past.
Wow.
But, yeah, and it's a bizarre volcano. As a matter of fact, it actually switches between erupting with that silicate concentrated magma lava or the more carbonatite lava.
Weird.
And they're trying to figure out why. It's a mystery. But it's the only volcano on Earth with this black carbonatite lava. And it's black in the daytime. At night, you can see the glowing red that it gives off.
Oh, cool. This, I mean, truly unlike anything I have ever seen before. And you're correct. It looks like a fountain in a shopping plaza, but full of black lava.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some darn kids like pulled a prank and poured a bunch of black food coloring in there or something, right? But like, yeah, it looks like Satan's mansion's fountain in his garden, you know? That's what that is. Yeah, but the only one in the world. But that is unquestionably a liquid.
100%. That is a liquid.
Yeah.
Lava is a liquid. Lava is wet.
Yeah. So there you go. Now, again, if we're going to paint with this broad brush of like, is any lava wet? Yeah, you've got the stuff under the seafloor. You've got that volcano in Tanzania with the extremely definitely liquid special type of lava. And then you've got the lavas in Kilauea and other hotspots that are less viscous and flow very liquidy, or lavas at converging plate boundaries that have H2O dissolved into it and steam and vapor. And I might say that's wet as well. So I am going to finally come to my conclusion. And again, disagreeing with Brooke Johnson here, but I'm going to have to say, yes, lava is wet. And I'm going to use Mr. Johnson one more time because he also said something I was really interesting. And to me, also categorically kind of goes against what he said earlier in his answer to Sally LePage. And he says, okay, if you define a mineral as an inorganic, naturally occurring solid material that has defined chemical ingredients, a defined crystal structure, you could say that ice is definitely a mineral. And if we're going to say that lava is molten minerals, you could therefore categorize water as lava.
Wow.
Which would 100% mean that lava is wet.
I love it. I love it.
Case closed.
Amazing. Well done. I am satisfied. I feel like we are vindicated against poor Brooke Johnson. He is just out here doing his job, and we are proving him wrong right and left. But I believe lava is wet.
I want to say this. I mean, you have a PhD, so you've been through academia and much more so than I ever have. But as an outside observer and science communicator, I think one thing that people miss about science a lot is this idea that there is a definite, settled answer to everything. When, like, scientists will argue amongst themselves forever, right? And go back and forth.
Yes.
Right? And it's not like this complete locked down body of knowledge. And Johnson might think, oh, it's wet. And another equally qualified scientist would disagree. I'm just some guy on the internet with a podcast, you know, one of a bajillion. But more importantly, I don't want to like, oh, shame on this guy. He's so wrong. I think his position could be totally valid. You know, it's really just part of the process.
It is true. I think a scientist's favorite thing is, well, certainly learning more about the mysteries of the world, yada, yada. Second favorite thing is arguing with other scientists, is being like, no, you're wrong. And through this argument, we'll get to those mysteries of the world, but you're wrong. And then third is, this is more of a statement than a question at the end of a Q&A session at the end of a talk, but that's all right.
They do love throwing in the statement at the end instead of a question. Yeah, definitely. But no, it's again, he's totally much more qualified to speak on this than I am. I just thought his approach was interesting and I had a different one.
I love it.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Alex, we will have your question.
Julian, give me your best dinosaur roar.
Oh, God, an asteroid! It's horrible!
Wow, that was not where I expected that to go. We're popping in before the show to tell you about I Know Dino. It's a dinosaur podcast.
You know, we think of those dinosaurs being this thing that's been dead for tens of millions of years. Even so, studying dinosaurs can still teach us stuff that is relevant to the world today.
Yeah, like climate models to help us understand global warming.
Migration patterns of dinosaur lineages, they tell us about Earth's changing continents.
We can also study dinosaur diets, what plants lived then and maybe what animals and how they interact.
And, this is super cool, many dinosaur injuries, paleopathologies, they're the first known occurrences of diseases.
And they talk about all this kind of stuff on I Know Dino. It comes out every week with new dinosaur stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Like, I hadn't heard of a lot of these, which is pretty cool.
You can find I Know Dino on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are. And if you found us, you can probably find them. Go check them out. Welcome back to That's Absurd. Please elaborate. We dipped our toes in the mysteries of lava, figuratively, of course. And now, Alex, what was your question?
I love that these two questions went together because I'm going to pull some things from the first half of the episode because we are also going to be talking about viscosity a little bit. And you mentioned potassium. There's a lot of potassium in this second half of the episode.
I did have a passing mention to potassium.
But I caught it. So this question came from Gerald. Gerald's question was, what food would be a better substitute for the old banana peel slipping gag?
Oh!
Yeah. It's fun. Gerald also added, while banana peel slipping is a cornerstone gag in media, I find their real-world practicality lacking. Not only can the tossed peel land incorrectly to not maximize the surface area of its slipperiness, I personally didn't find it to be all that slippery in more ideal circumstances. So what would be another food that can more reliably cause people to slip and fall? And I just feel like we should put a disclaimer out here that, like, Gerald, why are you trying to make people slip and fall? Like, be kind to your neighbors, Gerald.
I was talking about, like, Marlene went and did some digging on this herself before coming to us. Gerald is apparently out there tossing banana peels over the hedge and then watching who comes along.
Gerald is experimenting. So this question took me in a lot of different directions, but I want to shout out first that you said that you were emailing scientists. I went a step further here, that I was at a scientific conference about 2 weeks ago, wandering around the poster session, and this is a professional science conference with chemists and physicists and astronomers here. And one of them had a poster that said something about hydrogels and coefficient of friction. And I walked right up to this woman and I was like, I have questions about banana peels.
Oh, nice. You cornered her.
I did. And she was...
she had nowhere to go.
No, she had nowhere to go. And she was so kind. And she said that she did not know the answer, but that I should be looking into the field of tribology.
Tribology?
Tribology, which I didn't know.
Is that the study of Alex Trebek? Or
I thought it could be the study of tribbles, but no, it comes from the Greek word, I don't speak Greek, but tribo, meaning for I rub, and then the suffix ology for study of. And I am just going to put this out here, that I try and keep my online presence relatively PG. And we, for the next few minutes, are going to be talking about the study of rubbing and professional lubrication engineers, and I'm going to do so with my best straight face. But we are talking about...
I'm just going to let you know. No, I have no such compunction.
I have even found the world's most slippery lubricant. We have gone to the Guinness Book of World Records. Yes, I know.
Finally!
So we're talking about tribology. And this, again, the Professional Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers have done a lot of study into questions about slippery foods, which I just love. And I think we got to start with the banana peel, right? We need to set a standard. So what we're thinking about here is the coefficient of friction of different materials.
Right.
So how slippery are these materials? If you're going to move one material past another, how hard is it to do so? The higher that coefficient of friction, the harder it is to move those two things against each other. And a few years ago, somebody actually studied this for banana peels. It was a scientist who his main study is actually looking at joints, right? So looking at the things that lubricate your joints that maybe we're going to make better, prosthetic knees and things like that in the future. But he was really interested in this old gag and wanted to know just how slippery banana peels actually are. So one of the ways that you study the coefficient of friction is you put something on an angled panel. So imagine you have a piece of linoleum. That's what he used as his flooring. You put a banana peel on it, and then you start tilting that piece of flooring until the banana peel slides off. And in that way, you can try and figure out how sticky something is. And it turns out that the banana peel just on its own was not very slippery. It stuck on to that panel for a long time. And what he realized was that to actually measure this question of how slippery would a banana peel be if you stepped on it, he had to step on it. So he created a setup where he had sort of a force meter on the bottom and then a piece of linoleum and then a banana peel from, I believe it was 7 different bananas. and he stepped on them.
Oh, wow. Thorough.
Oh, very thorough. He said in an interview afterwards that he had to start feeding the bananas to like his graduate students because over the course of doing all these experiments, they just went through so many bananas, he like couldn't eat any more bananas. So he did this and he stepped on the banana peel and he found that it had a coefficient of friction of 0.07. And that means nothing because I have given you no references. But
I happen to know as a motorcyclist,
yes,
it's 0.07.
Yes.
Okay. Well, so the coefficient of friction, I think, is represented by what? Mu?
Yeah,
when you're doing these equations. And so one thing that I have learned recently as a motorcyclist is like to be wary of what they call mu transitions, where you go from something grippy to something slippery, like concrete to ice. And I happen to learn concretes has a coefficient of friction of like 0.9.
Yeah.
Right? Which is really high. It's almost like, perfectly grippy. And then ice has something, like 0.03 or something like that, like really, really low.
Yes.
And you're saying banana is 0.07?
Yes. Yes. You are correct. Ice, depending on what you are running against it. So I would imagine that you're looking at sort of rubber of the wheel versus the ice. That's about 0.03. In other scenarios, it's about 0.05. So ice, something we consider to be very slippery, is about 0.05. The coefficient of friction of just a normal sole on the wood was about 0.4. So sole of shoe on top of the floor was about 0.4. Sole of shoe on top of banana on top of the floor is about 0.07. It is about 6 times slipperier to be standing on the banana peel than to be just walking on the floor.
Well, yeah. So the thing that I was learning with this mu transition, there's a fantastic YouTube channel called Fort9. It's actually like a Canadian motorcycle apparel company, but the guy who runs their YouTube channel has a physics background.
Ooh.
And so that's why he talks about these things like mu transitions. And what they talk about is if you're on, something with a coefficient of friction that, is constant, it's much easier to handle. But it's that transition that causes you to fall.
Yes. Yes.
So when you're walking along, right, you've got a coefficient of friction of 1. And then if you hit a banana peel, even if it's not that slippery, the difference can really throw you off. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes, absolutely. The difference can throw you off. And there was an estimate that if you're making that transition and the thing that you're stepping onto has a coefficient of friction that is under 0.1, you have about a 90% chance of falling. So going,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's high. So if you are making that transition from the normal floor onto this banana peel, which is under 0.1, there's like a 90% chance that you're going to at least slide. Maybe you'll catch yourself. Maybe your other foot will come out, but you will slide as if you're going to fall.
So there is some validity to it. But I think a thing that really matters is you have to not know it's coming.
Yes, you have to not know it's coming. And the other thing that I think will play into this a little bit is I also did some digging on the history of the banana peel gag. Why is this a thing? And do you know? You look like you know.
I think I happen to know this
Please chime in.
If I remember, I read a cracked.com article like 10 years ago, and I think it started as an anti-littering campaign.
Yes, it did.
Is that accurate?
Bananas were first imported into the U.S. in the late 1800s as one of the World's Fairs. And they became a really popular street food, essentially, that you could buy on the street. And people just started tossing them into trash cans and into the street. I didn't look on cracked.com. I was looking at the journal from the Society of Tribologists and Lubrication Engineers.
Equally reputable sources.
Of course, yes. And they said that they think that the banana peels were really highlighted because they were they're bright yellow, they're big, they're visible. And so they became sort of the symbol of this litter on the street that you might run into. And there was a vaudeville comedian, Sliding Bill Watson, who is sort of credited as the first person to integrate this into his act. And he claimed that he got this idea from seeing somebody actually slip on one of these banana peels out in the street in all of this rubbish that they were trying to clean up, which I think is fascinating.
Do you know if he was sliding Bill Watson before the banana peel gag, or was that?
No, I think that was post banana peel.
Okay, that would make sense. Yeah. Now that you say that, I get that.
Which I also love that, like, you've committed to a bit so hard, one bit, that it just becomes your entire name.
That was vaudeville for you. So my degree is not in genetics; it's in film. And one of the things they teach you is like when things went from, vaudeville live shows that you tour around performing to like television. These vaudeville performers, they perform on TV. Isn't that great? They only had one act that they worked on for like a decade.
Yes.
And so when they finally, everybody saw it, then they couldn't get work again. Everybody's seen the act.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, so poor Slidin' Bill, was it?
Slidin' Bill. And he wasn't even the first one to bring it to the screen. So it was Chaplin, I think, did it first, and then Buster Keaton did it. I mean, they were pretty similar in time, and I am showing that my film degree is very out of date in that I don't remember who came first, Keaton or Chaplin. But they're the first two who are credited with actually putting it on the screen and sort of widening it out. So
interesting.
This paper that looked into this, it won an Ig Nobel Prize back in, I believe, 2017, which are prizes given out for science that makes people smile and science that makes people laugh and maybe is a little silly. But I think they did a good job of it in that what I will say is the question Gerald asked was, what other food should we use in place? So we've set our standard here at bananas with their coefficient of friction of 0.07 if you step on them in the correct orientation. So it has to be the inside of the peel down. And one of the reasons why they did this is that they actually then looked at the banana after they stepped on it, and they found that it exuded a mucus out of some of its cells. This like polysaccharide mucus came out when you stepped on it, and that made it more slippery, that you had this like hydrogel under there slipping around. Which
I see why it would be interesting to the lube scientists.
Yes, exactly. The lube scientists, they're very into the hydrogels. And that's actually one of the things that people have looked at banana peels, which are a huge waste, right? Because we eat so many bananas and there's really no good application for their peels. In the industrial setting, people have been looking for, what do we do with all these banana peels? And one of the things they've been studying of whether or not we can make like a bio-friendly lubricant out of banana peels for machines, I should clarify. So
good to know.
They did also, though, look at some other peels as a comparison. They looked at tangerine, citron, and apple peels. And what they found was that none of them were as slippery as the banana peel. So apple peel was next up. It had a coefficient of friction around 0.1. Tangerine was a little over 0.2. So the banana peel was the most slippery of the things that they tried in this one paper.
So they literally compared apples to oranges.
Yes, they
did.
Just
want to point that out.
They did.
Okay.
Plus also citron and cucumber. And none were as slippery as the banana peel.
Banana reigns supreme. Good to know.
Well, for now. Because
for now,
it turns out a lot of people study the coefficient of friction of different foods. And there are 3 reasons for this. I feel like I want to justify why this science exists for a moment.
Sure.
Because one of them is safety, right? So there are a lot of people who are looking at like food workers, right? If you're in a plant that produces a lot of food that might drip on the floor, or if you're in a restaurant kitchen, you don't want to slide around. Like you want to figure out the coefficient of friction of different foods.
Okay, yeah.
The other is food transport. So if you have a bunch of potatoes bouncing down a conveyor belt, you want to know how slippery those potatoes are going to be. Are they going to go flying all around, or are you going to be able to keep them there? Similarly with grain, I found a lot of papers of grain flowing through like a silo and different, grain moving equipment. And so there's lots of coefficient of friction of different grains on different metals. And then finally, the other place where coefficient of friction comes into food is on mouthfeel. So how we feel food in our mouth has a lot to do with the coefficient of friction. Whether or not things feel slimy or feel wet or feel dry has a lot to do with how we like them, right? You can think about ice cream, where you've had a grainy ice cream that was kind of gross, or you've had like a nice smooth ice cream that was kind of nice. And that all has to come down to mouthfeel. So lots of papers out there looking at coefficient of frictions of food. I looked through so many of these papers. The problem is that not many of them measure it in the same way of stepping on it on a piece of linoleum. So I found a lot about dry versus dirty versus wet versus clean potatoes bouncing down a line. I found a whole paper on watermelon seeds going through conveyor belts, all this kind of stuff. None of them were as slippery. But again, they were all measured in slightly different ways. However, as I thought about the most slippery foods I could think about and thinking about fruits and those kinds of things, one came to mind, both for me and for other people I talked about this with, which was mango. Mangoes and mango peels are very slippery. Unfortunately, I did not find a paper that compared it in the same way of stepping on it on a piece of linoleum, but I did find a paper that directly compared banana to mango cells. They were thinking about mouthfeel, so they're thinking a little bit about viscosity, but they looked at the coefficient of friction of banana versus mango. Now, I will caveat, it was a different measure, so we're not going to get one number here. We got curves looking at it as if you were chewing it kind of thing. But the banana cells and the mango cells behaved differently, and overall, the mango coefficient of friction was lower than the bananas was. So I would say if we had to pick a most slippery food, it would be the mango peel.
Wow.
Now,
okay, Gerald, now you have a new weapon of choice for your chaos that I assume you're trying to sow.
I will throw out, there were some close contenders. Tomato peels, persimmon peels, all seemed, like they could be. And it's possible that if we put a mango peel into the same measure of the banana stepping on paper, they might not be the same. But looking at the viscosity and the coefficient of friction in a test that simulated chewing, which I think makes some sense of why you'd want to care about coefficient of friction, the mango was more slippery than the banana peel. And it is, I think, not as good for a gag. So rarely do you walk down the street peeling a mango with your hands and throw it on the ground.
I mean, I do all the time, but most people. I noticed it seems to unsettle a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
Me and all my mangoes.
I know. But if you're eating mango, I mean, they're delicious, they're lovely, and they're very slippery. So Gerald, I think if you need a new food to put out here, I think it would be the mango.
Okay. Solid choice. Now, I do remember you saying you found the slipperiest lubricant.
Oh, I did. So I went looking at things that weren't food too. I know that wasn't really the spirit of the question, but I wanted to find.
Yes, but I'm intrigued.
Yes, if you wanted to make the world's slipperiest slip and slide, what would it be? And the Guinness Book of World Record holder for the thing in the world with the lowest coefficient of friction is called High Tea Lube from Magnaplate. And it was invented in the 1960s. It's super slippery. It's a polymer mixture with a couple other things. The scientist who created it, Dr. Charles P. Covino, said, I put 5 materials together and composited them into a lubricant. It worked the first time. That's his explanation of how he came up with it. Was like, I was just so smart and I made it on the first try.
He's just a lube savant.
He is. It is
a master of tugology. What's the study again?
Tribology. But
tribology.
Tugology is basically what we're talking about.
Sorry,
here.
I think I'm tipping my hand a little bit on where my mind goes.
It's fine. Yes. So it is used in commercial applications. One of the things that I think is most interesting, so it was invented back in the 1960s, and after its invention, he was contacted by the U.S. Air Force to investigate a whole bunch of accidents that had happened in fighter planes because one of the pedals was sticking. And so this is from their promotional material. I don't know exactly how legit this is, but they claim that the high tea lube could withstand the temperature shifts and the intense conditions of these fighter jets and solved their problems. And so now it is also one of the lubricants that is used on space missions, and it has been sent on a number of deep space probes. They have a picture of the ISS, so I don't know if they're trying to imply it's also used on the ISS, but it can withstand the vacuum of space. It can withstand crazy temperatures, and so this is the world's best lube, is this high tea lube from Magnaplate. And I just also love that their slogan is coatings engineered for your success. Which they know what they're doing.
When you say the ISS, I know it's just going to be in the McGubbins that need to rotate and stuff, but now I'm just imagining the entire ISS is really slippery.
Yes, just covered in lube.
Just this gooey.
The astronauts aren't floating around because of anti-gravity. They're just slipping all over the place all the time.
They're sliding all over.
Yes. So
somebody spilled the high tea lube again.
Yeah. You got to keep that stuff contained.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Between that and all the bananas they're eating up there.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Hysterical. Well, thank you, Alex, for both investigating, as Gerald asked, the slipperiest food. Gerald, please use that information for good and not evil. Also for telling me the slipperiest lube that there is, because frankly, I want to tell people that at parties or something. Like, I'm going to find a way to bring that up.
I couldn't leave that out. I'm glad you remembered that, because high tea lube for all your slippery needs.
Oh, well, wonderful. I think we got to some pretty definitive answers on this episode, which is not always the case. So thank you, Alex, for that. Before we go, Alex, where can listeners find you? What are you up to? What do you want to tell them?
Yeah, I'm all over the web at Alex Dainis. But yeah, I make videos with the American Chemical Society, chemistry shorts. I made a whole PBS digital series last year. So I'm just out here talking about science wherever anyone will let me at Alex Dainis. So you can find me in all places.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you on. So thank you again for stepping in for Trace. And thank you all for listening to this episode of That's Absurd. Please elaborate. The show was created, written, produced by me, Julian Huguet, and of course, Trace Dominguez, who is unavailable this week. It's also produced and edited by the incredibly slippery Kyle Sisk. Special thanks to listeners who submitted questions for this week, Marlene and Gerald. If you want to submit a question, you can submit one in the form in our show notes, or you can email us at hello@that'sabsurdshow.com. You can visit our website, that'sabsurdshow.com/ask. You can even call us and leave it as a voice message, 302 Tape Show, TAPESHO. And if you want to vote on questions that people are asking and actually, have some say in what we answer, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/that'sabsurdshow. Members at any tier get to vote on questions. So go ahead if you want to actually, have a say or see what we're being asked. Go ahead and join that. If you want to leave a review, stars, hearts, horseshoes, blue moons, words, whatever platform you're on, we appreciate it. It helps people find the show. And of course, a special thanks to those listening on Nebula. By joining Nebula, you get access to ad-free versions of episodes, and you support us and other independent creators. To join Nebula, visit go.nebula.tv/that'sabsurdshow. Well, Alex, what do we always say at the end of every episode?
To ensure that your lava is wet, cover it in high tea lube.
Lava is liquid but makes a poor lubricant.
Oh, no.
For machine applications, of course.
Yes, only machines.
Why is lubricant so tied to biological applications?
Oh, I don't
Why?
know.
It's so important and necessary for industrial uses. Anyway, that's what we always say. We always say that whole thing. I'm glad you know our slogan.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Podcast out.